There are some video games that instantly take people back to a certain point in time. I wouldn't say because of the story or the characters, but because of the feeling mostly. So for a lot of players who grew up during the 90s, Road Rush was one of those games. The moment somebody mentions the name, memories start flooding back. High-speed motorcycle races, traffic, flying past, dangerous speeds, police sweating around the next corner, and rival riders swinging chains, clubs, and punches at you while everyone fought for position in the road. It was racing, it was fighting, and it was pure chaos all rolled into one unforgettable experience. The series actually became one of EA's biggest hits during the Sega Genesis era and sold millions of copies while helping, at the same time, define an entire generation of gaming. That's exactly why rumors about a modern Road Rush remake never seems to disappear right now. Well, first of all, to be clear, EA Games or Electronic Arts does not officially announce a Road Rush remake. However, the franchise continues to be mentioned whenever the discussions turn toward classic games that deserve a comeback. Over the years, EA has actually reportedly explored rival concepts, including a cancelled HD project known as Road Rush HD Remixed, showing that the company has at least considered bringing the series back in some form. And honestly, when you look at today's technology, that idea feels way more exciting than ever. That simple formula still works, sounds fun. In fact, it sounds like something that could fit perfectly into modern gaming. Because the original game succeeded because they combined two things people naturally enjoy. It was speed and chaos. When it wasn't just about taking corners correctly, sometimes it was about surviving. Sometimes it was about knocking a rival off the bike before they knocked you out. That blend of racing and combat remains surprisingly unique even today. Fans continue talking about Road Rush decades after the last entry arrived because of that. Community discussions regularly describe it as one of the most deserving franchises for modern revival, and even spiritual successes like Road Redemption and the recently announced Bash Moto exist largely because players still miss the original experience. The original franchise, in fact created by EA back in 1999, when I was born, mixed motorcycle racing with some brutal street combat in ways that immediately made it stand out from everything else in the genre. Players weren't just racing anymore, racing opponents and stuff, they were kicking them off bikes, dodging police, smashing through traffic, trying not to become roadkill themselves. The series became one of EA's early breakout successes and sold millions during the 90s, and somehow, despite all that success, the franchise slowly disappeared. But not entirely. That's the strange part. Franchises only inspire this much imitation when people still deeply want the original back. And a modern remake right now could become incredible if it handled correctly. Because the core idea still works perfectly. Illegal motorcycle races across highways and city streets while combat breaks out of 150 miles per hour. And obviously modern horror could push that concept much further than the old games ever even imagined. Imagine nighttime freeway right now that, just during heavy rains while lighting flashes across the whole sky. Bikes weaving through dense traffic system, terrifying speeds this time while chains scrape sparks against the pavement. Police helicopters, whatever. That atmosphere alone could make the remake unforgettable, and importantly, it should still feel dirty. That is the key. Modern racing games often look too clean and controlled, and Road Rush worked because it felt reckless. Dangerous people, doing dangerous things in dangerous places. Riders look exhausted, aggressive. Roads felt unpredictable, even races looked like it could end any moment. A remake absolutely needs to preserve that energy, because underneath all of the combat and the speed, Road Rush was all the way about chaos. The beautiful chaos. The kind where players laugh in 1 second and then flying off a motorcycle the next. That unpredictability made this series special. And of course, now, modern physics systems could make crashes and combat far more intense than ever before. Bikes colliding realistically, riders fighting dynamically while trying to maintain control at high speeds, environmental destructions during races, traffic reacting to it. That level of immersion could completely transform the whole experience, especially online, because honestly, Road Rush feels almost designed for modern multiplayer systems. Large-scale online races, team bike crews, dynamic police chases, open-world highways connecting different race territories. The possibilities are enormous, and fans clearly know it as well. Across Reddit and retro gaming communities, Players constantly talk about how badly they want Road Rush to return properly instead of only receiving spiritual successes. Many specifically remember the brutal races, licensed rock soundtracks, the police chases and all its core gaming memories from the 90s. That nostalgia still hits hard, specifically because the soundtrack identity alone could become legendary again. People sometimes forget how important music was to Road Rush. The later entries became famous for the regressive rock and grunge soundtrack. That music gave the game's personality. A remake could bring that back perfectly. Heavy guitars screaming during highway races, industrial rock blasting through underground street circuits. The combination of speed, the violence, the music could feel incredible today, and visually, the game could stand apart from almost every modern racer immediately. Whatever we're talking about in terms of looks and atmosphere, the world should feel alive, not like organized racing, like outlaw culture. That distinction matters enormously because Road Rush was never about professional motorsports, it was about underground races run by people who genuinely looked like they might have destroyed each other before reaching the finish line. The original franchise, in fact created by EA back in 1999, mixed motorcycle racing with some brutal street combat in a way that immediately made it stand out from everything else in the genre. Players weren't just racing anymore, they were kicking them off bikes, dodging police, smashing through traffic, trying not to become roadkill themselves. The series became one of EA's early breakout successes and sold millions during the 90s, and somehow, despite all that success, the franchise slowly disappeared. But not entirely. That's the strange part, because today's gaming industry feels almost perfectly designed for a Road Rush comeback. Online multiplayer is just bigger than ever, open world racing game dominate the genre, physics systems are dramatically more advanced, and players clearly still miss that motorcycle combat formula because spiritual successes continue appearing constantly online. Modern storytelling in fact could finally lean into that atmosphere properly as well. A remake could turn the franchise into something much larger while preserving the original arcade energy underneath it. And a remake could turn the franchise into something much larger, and honestly, gaming right now feels ready for exactly this type of experience again. Players are exhausted by just overly safe design sometimes. They want games with personality, games willing to feel rough around the edges in the right ways. Road Rush always had that personality naturally. It was fast, aggressive, a little reckless. That identity still feels unique even decades later. And that violence wasn't even realistic or disturbing, it was exaggerated, almost punk rock in spirit. And that tone mattered. A remake we think should feel wild, loud, slightly out of control all the time. The player should feel constantly like one bad turn, one missed dodge, one perfectly timed chain swing could send everything crashing apart instantly, and that danger is the soul of the franchise. Honestly, that's why the rumors around the remake never really disappeared. Here's the thing, right now a Road Rush remake remains only a rumor, but some ideas never really die, they simply wait for the right moment to come back. And if EA ever decides to bring Road Rush back, they wouldn't just be reviving an old motorcycle game. They're gonna be bringing back one of the most unique racing franchises that's basically ever created. A franchise where every race felt dangerous, every victory felt earned, and every mile road felt like absolute freedom. Hopefully, sooner rather than later.